Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. Once upon a time, in the land of Persia, there were two brothers, the elder named Qasim and the younger named Alibaba. After their father passed away, the two brothers had to endure a life of poverty. Eventually, Qasim had the good fortune to marry the daughter of a wealthy family and inherited his father-in-law's wealth, becoming a renowned and prosperous merchant in no time. On the other hand, Alibaba married a poor girl and continued to live a life of destitution. Every day, he would lead his donkey to the mountains to gather wood and sell it at the market, earning just enough to sustain his humble household. One day, after finishing gathering wood in the mountains and making his way down, Alibaba suddenly heard the sound of galloping horses approaching from a distance. Fearing that they might be bandits, he quickly led his donkey to a hidden path and climbed a tree to hide. The group of horsemen halted under the very tree where Alibaba was concealed, next to a large rock. There were 40 fierce-looking men, each armed to the teeth. Their horses were laden with bags full of treasure, a clear indication that they were thieves. The leader of the group stepped forward and loudly commanded, "Open sesame." With those words, the massive rock moved aside, revealing a large cave, and the thieves carried their loot into the cave. Once they had entered, the stone door automatically closed. After a while, the cave's door opened again, and the thieves emerged. The leader shouted, "Close sesame." Instantly, the stone door closed just as before, and the thieves rode off. Alibaba waited until the thieves had left, then cautiously descended and, following the leader's example, said to the stone, "Open sesame." As he uttered the words, the stone door opened wide. Alibaba stepped inside the cave and gazed upon a vast treasure trove, with gold and jewels scattered everywhere. He stood in awe of the immense wealth. He was now convinced that these were indeed thieves, and this was their secret hoard. So he filled several bags with gold and treasure, loaded them onto his donkey, and returned home. Back at home, Alibaba shared the story with his wife, who looked at the treasure in amazement and joy. She sat down to count the wealth while Alibaba asked, "How long will it take to count all that money? We should temporarily bury this wealth." His wife agreed, but wanted to determine the exact amount. Unbeknownst to Alibaba, she borrowed a scale from Qasim's wife, who, curious about the purpose, had secretly coated the bottom of the scale with beeswax. Alibaba's wife then brought the scale to measure the gold. Afterward, they dug a hole and buried the treasure. Little did they know that a piece of gold had stuck to the bottom of the scale, and they were unaware of it. Soon after, Qasim's wife discovered the gold coin stuck to the bottom of the scale in their home. She immediately told her husband, "Do you still think you're the richest man in the region? In reality, Alibaba is much wealthier than you. His family uses a scale to measure gold." Qasim was taken aback by his wife's revelation but was convinced when he saw the gold coin in the scale. He hurried to Alibaba's house to inquire about the matter. With no other choice, Alibaba had to disclose the story of his encounter with the bandits, the treasure-filled cave, and the magical incantation that opened the cave to Qasim. The following morning, Qasim took 4 donkeys and set off for the mountains. Arriving at the cave's entrance, he loudly exclaimed, "Sesame, open up." The door of the cave opened, and Qasim entered, but it unexpectedly closed behind him. Qasim eagerly began collecting gold, treasures, and quickly filled more than a dozen large bags, preparing to take them home. However, in his excitement, Qasim forgot the magical incantation. He stood in front of the cave and shouted various names, such as, barley, open up, wheat, open up, beans, open up, and a series of other grain names, but the crucial phrase sesame slipped his mind. Qasim was left bewildered, sitting helplessly before the closed cave door, staring at the treasure. In the middle of that night, the bandits returned to their hideout, discovered Qasim and the bags of gold and treasure, and realized that they had an intruder. They immediately killed Qasim. The next day, Alibaba went up to the mountains and found his brother's lifeless body at the cave entrance. The bandits, realizing that Qasim's body was no longer in the cave, began investigating the intruder's identity. They learned from a local tailor that Alibaba's brother had recently died. The bandit leader then devised a plan to disguise himself as an oil merchant, and the other bandits hid in oil barrels, infiltrated Alibaba's home, and waited for nightfall. Together, they attacked and killed Alibaba, one by one. As fate would have it, the following day, the bandit leader and his gang set out with 20 donkeys. Each donkey carried 2 large barrels, and there were 39 bandits hidden in 39 barrels, with only 1 barrel containing actual oil. In the dead of night, the bandits arrived and knocked on Alibaba's door, requesting shelter for the night. Alibaba, ever the hospitable host, agreed to their request. The bandit leader led the donkeys and the barrels into Alibaba's woodshed. However, coincidentally, Alibaba's maidservant had discovered the bandits' plan. Taking advantage of the darkness, she filled a pot with boiling oil and brought it to the woodshed. One by one, she poured the scalding oil into the 39 barrels. The bandits inside had no chance to comprehend what was happening and perished due to severe burns. That night, the bandit leader signaled to his comrades to rise and take action, but they were all incapacitated. He rushed to the woodshed to find all the barrels sizzling hot. Opening them revealed the horrific fate of his fellow bandits. Fearing for his life, he leaped over the wall and fled, never to be seen again.